Hey everybody, it's Mr. Kowalczyk here. So today we are doing 2.6, which is all about planning proofs. So we're going to focus on this as a way to get better at getting our proofs up and running. So a couple tips today. The thing about today is that I'm not going to be doing any proofs in the lecture. We're going to be practicing those tomorrow in class together. So for section 2.6, I want you to focus on taking notes in order to improve your just basic ideas about how to get proofs started. So let's check it out. Let's move through the slideshow. All right, so proof of a theorem. When we prove theorems, it's important for us. We have 5 main parts of proving these theorems. Okay, so the first one is a statement of the theorem. What is that going to look like? For example, is it 2.5 or 2.6, or what is the statement of the theorem that deals with that we're focused on? Whether it's anything from the midpoint theorem to the vertical angle theorem and on throughout the rest of the year that we're going to be working on. So we state that theorem. Second is going to be the diagram that illustrates the given information. That diagram is going to be really important. As I've been talking about all year, we want to make sure that we're going to be able to illustrate and visualize what it is that we're looking at. Geometry is wonderful because it can be so visual. Whereas algebra is very abstract and kind of hard to visualize, geometry is the opposite. Then we're going to create a list in terms of the figure, whether we label the figure A, B, C, D, or whatever we choose to annotate in that figure. We want to list out what we know to be true, to be given in that figure. And then 4, what is it that we're trying to prove? Again, using the same notation that we have set up in our diagram. And then 5th and finally, then we're going to move on to our statements and reasons that lead from the given information to the statement that is going to be proven. So we have to set all of those things up in order to set up a proof. All right. Sometimes, as we've seen in the textbook, they're going to be given to us, but now we're starting to build into new ones where we're going to have to set things up just from a set of instructions. The diagram, the T-chart, the given, the what we're trying to prove. All right. Now, there is theorem 2-7, the congruent supplement theorem that I want you to take notes on today in addition to all of these slides. If 2 angles are supplements of congruent angles, then they are congruent to each other. Okay, so it makes sense that if we have 2 angles that are supplements to a 3rd angle, we're going to know that those are going to be congruent to each other. So in this situation, we've got 1 being congruent to 3. And then what can we deduce about 2 and 4? Well, we know that 2 and 4 are going to be congruent as well, because they all have to add up to 180. All right, make sure you're taking notes on these. 2.8 is the same basic idea, and it's just the congruent complement theorem. So if 2 angles are complements of congruent angles, then they are congruent to each other. Right? 1 plus 2 equals 90, 3 plus 4 equals 90. 1 is congruent to 3, therefore 2 must be congruent to 4. All right, now we get some tips for writing proofs. These are my last little tips for the day, short video. Before you write steps in a 2-column proof, you're going to plan that proof out. A couple times, it's going to be obvious. When you look at it, you're going to be like, oh, I know how to get from A to B, from the givens to the proof. I just have to do a couple things here, and I'm going to jump in. Now, other times, it might not work out like that. You might need to try a couple different approaches where you try some of the definitions and some of the theorems, and it doesn't work out. You have to erase, and just try a different strategy. And that's okay. The other thing that works sometimes for me really well is to say, what am I trying to prove? What's my given? That's at the beginning. That doesn't work so well sometimes for me. I'll start at the end and say, where am I trying to finish up? And from there, I work backwards and see if I can find my way back to the givens, and see if sometimes that is a little bit easier, makes a little bit more sense to me. So try going backwards. You know, it's similar if anybody plays board games or chess where you have to think several moves ahead. This is very much like that, where you're saying, if this conclusion is going to be true, then I know that, and then I know that, and then I know that. So you're playing around with it and you're trying to imagine and sequence the realities of what's in front of you. And finally, yes, you definitely want to study proofs of previous theorems, and studying proofs that we've done before, studying proofs that you might find in the book or online or anywhere, seeing how mathematicians have gone through those. The more that you look at, the easier it's going to be in order for you to kind of feel confident and familiar with how proofs are laid out. All right, so we're going to stop there for today's video. I know it's a short one. Tomorrow in class, we're going to start off with some basic proof games, some fun games, hopefully, and then we'll work on some proofs together in class. I hope this was helpful. I thought maybe we could use an easy day or an easier day after what we had today in class. It was a long block day. So take these notes, submit them, and then I'll see you in class tomorrow, and we'll work on some practice problems. All right, bye.